Lifting and carrying occurs in one way or another in every department of every business on every working day. So it is not surprising that injuries resulting from incorrect manual handling techniques comprise nearly 35% of all occupational injuries, with the most common injury being back injury, resulting in back pain. Back pain can be categorized as either acute, chronic, or intermittent pain occurring between the neck and the base of the spine. Terms frequently used to describe back pain include fibrositis, lumbago, sacroiliac pain, lower back pain, and slipped disc. Importantly, all back pain relates to the spinal column and or the muscles and ligaments of the back. The more serious back injuries resulting from manual handling relate specifically to the discs of the spinal column. The spinal column supports the trunk and head. It envelops the spinal cord and is involved in every movement of the limbs and body. Of the 33 bones in the spine, 24 permit movement. And between each of these movable vertebrae are discs of fibrous tissue. These discs consist of an outer rubber-like coating called the annulus and an inner nucleus of a jelly-like fluid. When the torso is in the upright position, or when the back itself is straight, compressional forces placed on the spine are fairly evenly distributed over the entire length of the spine and over the total area of each disc surface. When the back is bent and put under load, most of the stress is placed on the parts of the spine where the bending occurs. This places stress on one side of the affected discs and actually pinches them between the vertebrae. This can lead to scarring of the outer covering that can eventually lead to the discs wearing out and virtually bursting under pressure. Fortunately, the majority of back injuries are due to strains and injuries to the muscles and ligaments that support the bones. If, for example, a great deal of force is applied to the muscles and ligaments, such as from lifting a heavy load, the muscles and ligaments may stretch or tear. Again, these injuries are much more likely to occur when the back is bent. Of course, lifting and carrying of materials can also lead to a variety of other injuries, including sprains and strains to the neck, shoulders, arms, and legs, hernias in the stomach and groin areas, cuts and abrasions, broken bones from dropped loads, and even burns from items that are hot or extremely cold. The potential for injury and the frequency that we all undertake lifting and carrying tasks is why it is so important that we all understand the principles of safe lifting, and more importantly, put these principles into practice whenever we lift any object. Lifting is so much a part of our everyday activity that many of us don't even think about it. We simply walk up to an object, take hold, and hope that we don't do ourselves an injury. In fact, there are positive steps to follow towards safe lifting. The first step in any lifting operation is preparation. Clear the area of hazards. These could include such things as hoses, power cords, tools, and other obstructions on the floor, and ensure the surface is not slippery or greasy. Next, check the load for such things as sharp edges and protruding staples. Make sure there are no leaks or spills, and wear protective clothing such as gloves if necessary. The next step is to size up the load. This can be done by a combination of reading any information that may be printed on the item to be lifted that may indicate the contents and weight of the load, and by simply moving the load sideways, backwards, and forwards. This is a very important step, as it allows the person to ascertain whether or not the load to be lifted is within their own lifting capacity. The fourth step is to place your feet in the proper position. As a general rule, the front foot should be beside the object and, if possible, pointing in the direction of travel. The back foot should be slightly behind and be comfortably apart from the front foot. This achieves a stable base and allows for an even distribution of weight. The next step is to bend your knees. Bending your knees enables you to get down to the load and use your legs to lift the load. This way, the thigh and leg muscles are used, and these are the strongest parts of the body. The sixth step is to obtain a proper hold. Ideally, with the proper hold, the hands should be diagonally opposite for security and comfort. Use the full length of fingers and, where possible, the palms of the hands to avoid fatigue. Make sure the back is kept as straight as possible and as close to upright as possible, and raise the head with the chin in just before lifting. This will help keep the spine straight and enable the person lifting to see where they are going. And finally, during the lift, keep the arms as straight as possible and the elbows into the sides. Don't change your grip while carrying, and directly face the spot on which the load will rest. When setting down a load, the reverse procedure to lifting should be applied. Regardless of the shape and appearance of the object, the principles of safe lifting remain the same. So, in summary, the steps for safe lifting are: clear the area, check the load, size up the load, proper foot position, bend the knees, proper hold, straight back, and arms close to the body. By following these simple steps, you will significantly reduce the risk of injury when lifting. But remember, you are the key. The golden rule when lifting must be to always lift within your own lifting capacity, and if in doubt, get help or use a mechanical lifting device. Never lift an object or a weight that is beyond your own lifting capacity. If a team lift is required, the same principles still apply. Ideally, the people involved in a team lift should be of a similar height and physique. The load should be evenly shared, but most importantly, one person should take responsibility for the operation and act as coordinator. Many objects, simply because of their shape, invite the use of incorrect lifting techniques. Regardless of the object, following the correct procedure is vital to minimize the risk of injury. When using a hand trolley or barrow, the principles of safe lifting still apply. Your arms should be extended and by your sides with your back straight. And finally, having examined all the steps necessary for safe lifting, the other obvious factor to consider when carrying or when using a mechanical lifting device is to ensure you have adequate vision. Obscured vision can easily lead to injury, not only to the person carrying or moving the load, but also to other people as well as to the goods themselves. As well as understanding the steps necessary to ensure safe lifting, the following three factors should be taken into account to minimize the risk of accidents and injuries: the nature of the load, the working conditions, and the personal limitations of the individuals performing the task. The nature of the load. A load may be difficult to handle safely if it's too awkward, if it's too soft to control, is unbalanced, unstable, or has contents which are liable to shift, contains moving parts, is difficult to grip, or is poorly positioned. In addition, there may be physical hazards, such as whether the object has sharp edges or is hot or cold to touch. Loads can also be chemically hazardous and can be potentially dangerous if they leak or are spilled, or even in some circumstances if they come into direct contact with the skin. Chemical loads also present the possibility of the inhalation of dangerous vapors or hazardous particles. Working conditions. The layout of the work area should take into account the distance over which typical loads have to be moved and the height of shelves and tables. Gangways and work areas